Alright, hello and welcome to the first episode of the ATRL Charts podcast. I am Alexander, Alexander AO on ATRL. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Yep. Hey everyone, it's Her Screenplay 55, or just Her, as I like to be called. I'm glad you're listening to us.
And this is Mitch, aka, it's Aaron, aka Mitch from ATRL.
Alright.
Greatest legend in charts section on the ATRL.
Oh, stop.
Alright, so.
I hope we make a better podcast than Billboard, but hey, it's not going to be that hard. Oops.
Yeah. So anyways, Lego Fan Yoda could not make it right now. He'll be on the next podcast, so don't worry. But I think... Alright, let's get started. So the first thing we wanted to talk about was who is going to be next after, at number one on the Hot 100, after Cheerleader and Can't Feel My Face, and how many weeks will both of those songs be on top. Right now, it's looking that on the Hot 100 release tomorrow, that Cheerleader will be number one again.
Luck to be number one. I think Omi is great. Yeah, it's very strong on every component right now. But hey, the weekend is coming. Very strong.
Yeah, I see Cheerleader being number one for a while. I don't know how long of a while, if Can't Feel My Face is creeping up quite fast, especially in sales and airplay. They're pretty much identical in that component. I just fear that the Weeknd could get his video out as soon as possible, because he could be stuck at number two if Cheerleader keeps growing. Because I'm looking at the top 100 on iTunes now, and there are now two versions of Cheerleader in the top 100. Obviously, the main version at number two, and the second version, which is somewhere in the 60s, that features Kid Ink. And then there's another one in the top 200. So I just checked that out this morning. I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, it's just,
I think the sales difference is not that much, since the climate of the whole industry is bad for sales, for digital sales. I don't think that it's that important, sales. I don't think they're too far away from each other. But I think it's going to be good, and this is going to help The Weeknd for getting his first number one, which I think is going to happen, because he does amazing on streaming.
Yeah.
Right.
It's huge. I mean, it was very local.
Yeah, when the video comes out, as soon as that video comes out, he's a legit threat for number one right there. And I think when he gets on top, he's got at least, I can't see any major threats. He's got 6 weeks on top, more maybe.
Getting almost 12 million streams each week in the US, so it's really strong. He's just on fire. The Weeknd is the it girl of 2015. I'm sure about it.
Not Fetty Wap.
No, he's gonna. I don't know. I won't comment.
But no, you guys bring up a good point. After these two, after The Weeknd goes number one, there's really not any major threats after that that's in sight, because pretty much everything in the top 10 has peaked, like See You Again, Bad Blood, Trap Queen. All of those top 5 hits have already started to fall on the Hot 100. So unless we have
it's going to be another long run at number one.
We'll talk about those later. And the thing is, I took a look at the overall audience chart for radio, and it turns out the next 3 biggest gainers after Can't Feel My Face are Fight Song, Photograph, and Cool for the Summer, which I don't think you can pencil in for number one at all. So I think he's got plenty of time on top.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be between, the next 2 months is going to be between either Cheerleader or Can't Feel My Face. I'm sure about it.
Yeah. So how many?
At least some viral thing just floats out of nothing, out of nowhere.
Yeah. So if we're gonna make the predictions, how many weeks for each song then?
I don't know. I feel for a cheerleader, I'm going to say 3 weeks because I feel the weekend is coming very hard and it's getting the official video getting premiere very soon.
I say about the same amount of time, about 3 to 4 weeks for cheerleader, and then for Can't Feel My Face, I'm looking at another at least 6 week run or more on top if there are no other immediate threats.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna say, I'm gonna be bold. I'm gonna say 4 weeks for Omi because I don't think that the video for Can't Feel My Face is gonna come out till at least. I don't think he's rushing it, so I think it might come out in like maybe a week and a half or 2 weeks, which would then give Cheerleader 4 weeks on top. And then for Can't Feel My Face, I'm gonna say, yeah, definitely at least 6 weeks is um we've said earlier.
I'm agree with you. I'm going to say like with feel my can feel my face. I think at least 8 weeks. I don't know. Like
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, it could be number one well into October.
Yeah.
It feels like the next number one is hasn't been released till now. So just feels unlocked for the weekend and Omi.
That's what I feel as well. Like, I don't think the number one is in sight. I think it's something that's either bubbling somewhere under the charts or is being recorded as we speak. Because as we know, like around this time last year, Rude was already on his way to number one and it stayed there until Taylor Swift came out of nowhere and dropped Shake It Off. So maybe we'll have another major pop girl that releases and goes to number one. Who knows? Or
Katy Perry.
I mean, that would be ideal, but but we'll see what happens.
Hashtag pray for R8.
Or pray for our right.
Yeah,
That's true.
oh my God! Please, Rihanna, listen to our prayers, please.
All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is the song "Watch Me" by Silento, which has peaked at number 3 so far and is actually doing fairly well on radio as we speak. It's at number 27 on the overall audience chart. Um, will it go higher than that, or will it be blocked?
um,
I'm not sure about Silento. I mean, it gained a lot thanks to the premiere of the official music video. But then last week went down on streaming, probably losing around 2 million streams. Not a good thing. But also I have in mind Watch Me was heavily pushed by 4th of July effect. I honestly will say it's going to pick at number 3.
I have that same feeling. I don't see this going higher than it has already peaked. I was thinking this would maybe be like a miniature version of Trap Queen, where it starts sort of hangs around with decent sales, decent streams, and maybe a decent amount of airplay. Because I believe Trap Queen peaked around number 12 on overall airplay, and this could potentially follow its path. Like it's already doing well on urban, already doing well on rhythmic, and it's starting to do well on pop as well, which kind of what Trap Queen originally did. So yeah, I
Just,
don't think this will go
just
past number 3, to be honest.
Yeah, just a correction there. Trap Queen peaked at number 9 on overall radio, so it
Wow.
made the top 10 there. Um, I mean, it didn't have very much longevity. It's down to 33 already. That's below some other songs like You Know You Like It and other songs from the time period. So didn't have much longevity. Had a decent peak on overall radio, but I think for Watch Me, I'm gonna have to echo your sentiments. Number 3 peak seems most likely. I don't think the streaming has any reason to go significantly upward from here. It's getting the weekend effect though. It's getting that Uptown Funk weekend effect. It's going up a lot on the weekends, so sales should be pretty good for a while. But I just can't see it going above number 3. It'll probably hang out in the top 10 for a good bit though. Maybe 10, 15 weeks in the top 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's going to be helped by a celebrity going viral dancing Watch Me. I don't know.
Right.
But in the future, I just don't see it peaking any higher.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I think he's performed it once at the Today Show or Good Morning America, so I think that had somewhat of an effect on its sales. So, I mean, he could very well perform at the VMAs next month, and that could maybe re-spark some interest in the song. But as far as it stands right now, I think a number 3 peak is the most likely for the song.
All right, so
Although it's interesting, I feel it's going to have a better appeal than Trap Queen on radio, at least. I think it's going to be interesting. But I don't think it's going to have the same longevity.
all right. So the next song that we're going to talk about, one that gets a lot of attention on ATRL, is "Lean On" by Major Lazer, DJ Snake, and I think you pronounce it Moo. I'm not sure that's how you
I
pronounce it.
honestly don't know. I thought it was
Um,
Mo.
yeah, yeah, it could be Mo. I don't even know. Anyways, so it's currently at number 16 on the Hot 100. It dropped, I think, 5 spots a few weeks ago because of a drop in overall streaming. Now, it's it's it looks pretty much like it's not going to increase very hard on radio. It's only increased, I looked it up, in the past week it's gone up 5 million, which is pretty modest. And it stayed pretty much the same on Spotify. It's number 4. It's been number 4, number 5 for a while. And on iTunes, it's been around number 10 all week. So what do we make of Lean On? How high will it go?
This song should be slaying the competition this summer. It's just the perfect summer song. I don't understand the States right now. Oh my god. Before recording this, I was watching on ATRL some discussions about Worth It versus Lean On. Honestly, Worth It is a bigger hit in the US so far. I want to say that.
Yeah.
It has sold more, it's a bigger radio hit, and it's higher on its own overall streaming right now. Also, I don't know what's going on with Lean On streaming. According to Nielsen, it goes down and down each week. And I estimate it got around 4.4 million streams, and seeing Spotify's number is getting almost 4 million streams from Spotify alone. And please, the video is one of the hottest on YouTube right now. It's receiving 30 million views per week worldwide. And it feels ridiculous to think just less than 500,000 is coming from the States. I don't know. I think Nielsen has some troubles gathering data or something. That reminds me something similar happened with Thinking Out Loud. It was like at number 15 a week, and then it went off to top 50 on streaming song chart. But the next week it went back to top 20 like nothing. So I don't know. It just must be some troubles that they need to fix.
Yeah, with Lean On, I've monitored slightly, and I feel like for this song, it's really about it just kind of falls in that category with the dance hits that come along, like they smash worldwide, but then they come to the States. It's like, okay, it's a hit, but not, it's kind of like a moderate hit, I guess, if people like to use that word on the ATRL. And then I'm not sure if they've actually promoted this song or if they've actually, gone out and, pushed this song further in the U.S. But
everyone knows this song.
Yeah, I mean, it comes on the radio a lot. Like here in New York, the Z100, it's played almost once every hour, so I hear it every day.
It's in Power there, isn't it?
I know it was in Power a couple weeks ago. I don't know if it's still in Power, but it's a staple in the top 10 on Z100. I know that.
I mean, that's the same thing that happened with Rather Be. It was in Power on a lot of stations, and it was a dance hit that smashed worldwide. And then here in the U.S., I mean, number 10 peak, not bad at all, but it doesn't have that impact that a big smash has. So
it's something, yeah, like you said, it feels bigger than it actually is.
I'd like to note that actually Lean On is getting some really good support from the rhythmic format. Which has been really kind to DJ Snake lately. It's at number 11 right now there. Had a plus 119 today. That's second biggest update. And You Know You Like It, which is another DJ Snake song, hit number 1 on Rhythmic. So I think DJ Snake is quickly becoming a Rhythmic staple.
Yeah.
Oh, no, another wasted top 10 hit. You Know You Like It. I miss it. Oh my god.
Yeah, that song actually should have been bigger as well, but again, kind of just falls in that category.
I think this type of hits, I mean, Lean On, Rather Be, just don't sell well. I mean, I don't know what happened to them.
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of these songs that we're mentioning or we're talking about are bigger on streaming, but they're lukewarm on sales. It's like, maybe that demographic who likes that song actually prefers streaming than buying. I mean, that could be one possible theory, but it's mind-boggling.
Hmm. Yeah, so Lean On a little bit in flux right now. Now we're going to talk about a pair of songs that have gotten even more attention than Lean On ATRL, and that is Good For You by Selena Gomez featuring ASAP Rocky and Cool for the Summer by Demi Lovato.
Not
So,
so cool for the summer, it seems.
oh man. Okay, so, um, Good For You right now is looking like the bigger hit on streaming, while Cool for the Summer is looking like it could be a little bit bigger on pop radio. Even though, I mean, they're getting similar. They're at similar positions, 14 and 15. Good for You in front, but Cool for the Summer has a very large bullet compared to Good for You, 2370 to 1308. So I think it'll eventually be bigger on the radio. But overall, which song do you guys see being bigger?
I mean, right now as it stands,
Where are you in my...
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, sorry.
I was saying, right now as it stands, I think Good For You will end up being the bigger hit here in the States, based on its longevity so far. The sales have been pretty stable. I mean, radio is lukewarm to it right now. I mean, it's not shooting up as many people thought it would, but, we always see these patterns with radio. Like, they go up, initially, then they kind of stall out somewhere within the 10, 20 range on pop radio, and then at some point, they just explode again once they hit, like, the top 10 region maybe. So maybe this could happen for this song Good For You. But again, with the whole incident or with the whole thing, Demi hasn't even released a video for Cool for the Summer yet. So there's still potential and life left in that song. And I wouldn't count it out yet. But as I see right now, Good For You probably will be the bigger hit in the end with more sales.
Definitely agree. I think Good For You or Good For God, I love that song. It's really amazing. I think it could be a very big hit for Selena. Also, I'm not sure it's going to be her biggest hit. I just don't see it peaking any higher than number 6 as Come and Get It. I think it could be her biggest radio hit. ASAP could help a lot on rhythmic.
Right.
For the other hand, you have Demi, which would release Cool for the Summer. I love Cool for the Summer, honestly, but it's just not doing quite well as I would expect. It's gonna be another airplay driving hit for Demi. I mean,
right.
radio loves her.
Yeah.
And it's going to eat it up. With the premiere of the music video, I think it could be a top 10 hit for her, but nothing else. Unless the video is really, really controversial, it just doesn't seem like a top 10 hit for me.
Right, and
So Selena wins.
I was thinking, maybe with the video, like it's for some strange reason it could pull a small version of We Can't Stop. As we all know, We Can't Stop topped iTunes or went really high on iTunes, and then it started to fall. And then as soon as the video came out, it shot right back up. And I think it stopped at number 2 on iTunes, right behind Blurred Lines. But that situation can happen if the video is very shocking, like you said. People could, there could be a spark of interest in the song, and the sales could shoot back up along with, obviously, the streams that comes along with it. So, who knows? We haven't gotten any word on the video yet. The Levatics, I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't know if
Yeah. You're right.
They haven't really talked much about the video, so I don't know what's going to happen. It's all a surprise right now, so we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I don't
think Demi is on drugs like Miley on Weekend Stop, so I don't think that's going to happen. Sure.
I mean, I think it's going to come down. I think you have to look at the sales gap. and that has to narrow if Cool for the Summer is gonna be the bigger hit. I mean, Good for You number 8 on iTunes, Cool for the Summer at number 27. I actually don't think that streaming will be a big issue for Demi if she wants to have the bigger hit. She'll be bigger on radio in the end, I think, and if she can just somehow get the sales up, whether it's a performance. I mean, there is the VMAs, as we've mentioned. There is a video to be released. So if she can get the sales up, then there's definitely a chance that, that if they're not equal-sized hits, then maybe Demi's could be even bigger if Good For You doesn't have longevity on radio or it kind of stalls on streaming. I don't know. I think so far that's kind of a slim chance, though. I think if you were to ask me right now, I'd say Good For You will probably be bigger. But it could change for sure. We're still in the early stages of this one. Yeah.
Also, the Good For You video is not helping a lot to Selena. Actually, I think I'm not saying she killed the single because releasing that video, but it's not helping. I mean, oh my God. I mean, just not including the version with ASAP was just a horrible mistake.
I agree.
So, we've got another pair of singles to talk about, and they are Marvin Gaye by Charlie Puth featuring Meghan Trainor and Like I'm Gonna Lose You by Meghan Trainor featuring John Legend. So 2 male-female duets. And I think the thing that's interesting about this one is that the plan for Meghan here has just kept changing. So first they were planning to release Tidal as like the summer single, but it turns out that radio is pretty tired of the doo-wop retro pop sound that Meghan was perpetuating with the first 3 singles, and so they were like, okay, no, we're going to do Like I'm Gonna Lose You instead. But then there was See You Again with Charlie Puth, and Charlie Puth is getting all this exposure, and like, we got to capitalize on this. And so now they're releasing Marvin Gaye as well, and it's kind of a mess. You have dual singles, and I would say it's not looking too good for Like I'm Gonna Lose You.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
I think.
How you mean to say it?
I was gonna say, I would start with Marvin Gaye. I mean, obviously that has a bigger launch right now. I think it's somewhere top 30 on iTunes, and radio is starting to pick up on it. So there's potential there. And with relatively new artists, they don't explode out of the gate with their singles like a Katy or a Gaga or a Taylor. There's some time it has to take with even like Charlie Puth. He had a big hit this year, but still he's relatively unknown when it comes to radio. So it's going to take some time for everything to build. But with Like I'm Gonna Lose You, it has a very, very slow start. And I'm kind of shocked about that, but not really. It's the summertime, and I don't think, summers and ballads go well except with certain situations like We Belong Together was a huge like summer ballad.
Sam Smith last year.
Yeah, Stay With Me, exactly. Again, I think it's going to be one of those situations where it's going to take maybe one performance to maybe launch this song, and it gets bigger. But I don't know. I'm not seeing too many positive things with this song at the moment. But again, it's still in its early stages, and for me, I think it's kind of too early to tell.
I don't know why these artists keep releasing slow songs on summer. It just doesn't fit with me. I mean, I don't know. I think both Megan songs can be top 40 hits. She always get there. She always build the streaming each week. I think she's fine. She's on fire. She's not like, as you say, she's not like a great starter. She always build that success each week. I think can be just modest hits, just nice hits. That's it, but not big ones. And for the choosing of this single, not Gonna Lose You. Oh my God, I forgot the name.
Like I'm Gonna
Lose You. Like I'm Gonna Lose You. There's not too much to choose on Tidal. I love the album. I really like the album, but it sounds almost the same. It's just I don't know
Mm.
if it's me, but it sounds the dual sound. It's on every song.
Right.
So here's my 2 cents, and I think that it's more like I'm gonna lose my chance of actually becoming a hit, because if you look at what they did with it, they put it out to Rhythmic and it hasn't done anything, and then they put it out to Pop and it's kind of hanging around in the upper 40s on published pop radio and in the 90s with Recurrence. Um, and I don't think, I mean, they already performed it at the Billboard Music Awards. It had a pretty good boost on iTunes. I think it made the top 30 or top 40. Um, but I don't think that it's getting the attention now. I think the attention's going to shift to Marvin Gaye. I think that they're going to get Charlie that exposure. It's going to do well. I think it's harmless. It's carefree. It does fit the summer vibe. I think it'll do, despite its current bullet on pop radio, which is only a plus 318. I think will eventually end up doing pretty well there. The only weakness I can see for Marvin Gaye potentially is the streaming, in my opinion.
Yeah, because right now, I mean, I don't see it anywhere in the top 50 on Spotify, but that it doesn't necessarily mean that it's doing horrible because we don't get the top like 100 numbers on Spotify anymore. But you know, um, again, it's just one of those things that may just have to pick up later with more radio airplay or something. Um, Something that may just occur later on, like maybe around the VMAs or something like that. Because I know VMAs is a huge platform exposure for a lot of artists. Um, like for example, I think last year there was a singer. I think I want to say, well, Black Widow was already doing well at the time, but I think the sales it helped for Iggy for her single to go up a little bit more. But that's just another. I guess that's another time to discuss VMAs and possible performances. But I think
Yeah.
we'll just have to see.
And I mean, just from this conversation, I think we can really tell how much of an impact the VMAs can possibly have. Um, Looking at all the songs we've discussed the possibility of a VMA performance and how it would affect the song. Um, and I think with Marvin Gaye, that's certainly possible. Um, I think that I almost feel like that song was made just on purpose to kind of see how far you can go, like putting Marvin Gaye in the title, Marvin Gaye in the chorus, references to songs and verses without getting sued. I think that's like a challenge that they had, that Epic Records put on for their artists. That was like, make a song as much about Marvin Gaye as possible and don't get sued. And so far, they've done a good job, I think.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's gone on this long without it, so I mean, let's just go further and see what happens.
All right, so those two singles will be fascinating. Anyways, now um, we're going to do a lightning round, as I'm calling it, where I'm going to name some songs. I have 7, and we're going to say whether we think they will get into the top 10 of the Billboard Hot 100. Okay, so the first song is Worth It by Fifth Harmony featuring Kid A.
Tough one. I'm gonna say no, purely because it. I don't know. I think it's just gonna have that untimely luck where it peaks at number 11 or 12 and it just stalls out and then just goes away. But I mean it's done pretty well so far. But I think it's gonna miss the top 10 by maybe 1 or 2 spots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna say no as well. Although I think that, I mean, I hope just for the fans that doesn't end up with that ridiculous number 11, because that's always disappointing. But I think that it'll miss the top 10 because I think that on radio it's gonna peak pretty soon. I think if you look at its bullets, pop radio is plus 400 around. On rhythmic it's let's see, plus 100. So I think it's going to be peaking pretty soon there. And then I know it's streaming. Its streaming has actually been really impressive to me. It's gradually increased throughout these last few months, showing good longevity, good potential for longevity on streaming. But I don't think that it's going to have. I don't think it's going to have the sales. It's at 15 right now. I don't think it's going to have the sales. I don't think it's going to have enough longevity on radio to actually crack the top 10 of the Hot 100. But nonetheless, big hit for Fifth Harmony. Certainly did much better than I expected. I think I had predicted around a number 17 to 24 peak, and that's way off now. So yeah, surpassed my expectations for sure. All right, so the next song is going to be My Way by Fetty Wap featuring Monty / Drake.
Oh, I'm going to say yes. Actually, it's already a huge radio hit on Urban and Rhythmic, and I believe it debuted a couple weeks ago in the lower rungs of the Hot 100 around 97, 98. Don't quote me, but I think it was around that number. With these sales, obviously he's topped iTunes, and he actually has another version creeping up in the top 100. I think he's on a debut high on the digital songs chart, maybe somewhere within the top 5, and that should be good enough to potentially for next week maybe land him somewhere in the top 20 and maybe future sometime within the top 10. But yeah, I think this will be a top 10 hit for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna say yes, but I'm gonna say not next week. I think in the future. I think when you look at what happened with his other new song, 679, that did well on Spotify. That's in the top 10 there. First week it got high up there, and then first week it also had strong sales, and it debuted I think at number 34. So I think that My Way will debut, somewhere around there. It's similar so far, but it's done better on sales, so maybe it will debut, like you said, maybe in the top 20 even. I think eventually, though, it can easily make the top 10 as long as the radio performance holds. It's 3 on Urban and 14 on Rhythmic, so there's strong signs of encouragement there. I'm not sure if pop radio will pick it up. I mean, pop radio only took Trap Queen to the middle reaches of the chart, so I'm not sure if My Way will fare any better. I actually think, in my personal opinion, I think it'll probably do slightly worse, but I think it'll still end up being a top 10 hit. Maybe top 5 is a bit of a stretch. I'll say lower. I'll say the lower half of the top.
Right, I agree.
Okay, so the next song that we're going to talk about in terms of whether it will go top 10. We already talked about it, but we didn't actually say if it would specifically get to the top 10 is Cool for the Summer. Do you think it'll actually go top 10?
Yes, I believe it will go top 10. I don't think it'll have that much longevity in the top 10 because, as we talked about before, Demi at this point, or kind of right now, she's more of an airplay driven artist, with a few of her songs. But I think it will stay in the top 10 maybe a week or two, maybe lower rungs of the top 10. And I think radio, obviously pop radio, is going to support this song and carry it up on their charts, maybe top 5 on the pop radio charts. But for the Hot 100, maybe somewhere in the lower runs of the top 10, maybe like 6 to 10.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see it doing the lower reaches. I think that the sales will improve. So I think that it will probably end up, peaking around 9 or 10. So I'm gonna say yes. I think it will crack the top 10. So the only thing I'm not sure about again, is the sales. I think they will improve. I don't know if they will. That's what I think is gonna happen. But it's early. Things can happen. I'm gonna say yes for a little bit. Okay, now we're gonna get a little bit more.
Oh, sorry. Which song are you talking about?
We were doing the lightning round, predicting whether songs will go top 10. You want to catch up? Because first we did Worth It. Do you think Worth It is going to go top 10?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think it's going to be those songs that you pray so hard for at least reach number 10. I think at least, number 10. I see it peaking there.
Okay.
But my problem is just radio. I mean, it feels like pop radio is just almost peaking there. I don't know if the radio support is going to continue. It seems hard, but they can do it.
The next song we did was My Way by Fetty Wap, the current iTunes #1. Will that go top 10?
Very Web is going to be, oh my god, he's so, oh my god. It's going to have a lot of top 10 hits. It's just killing it on streaming. I think it's going to be another easy top 10 hit for him.
All right, and then the next one we did, we already talked about it earlier, but we didn't actually say whether it was going to go top 10 or not, was Cool for the Summer. Will it actually go top 10?
Yeah, top 10.
Yeah. Okay. So now we're gonna try to get a little more creative. I'm gonna go with songs that are a little bit further outside, the top 20, 30 right now. But will they eventually go top 10? And the first song that I take from this category is Renegades by X Ambassadors.
Please reach #1 at least. Oh my god, I love that song. I hope really it crossovers pop radio. I hope pop really support it. It deserves it. It's just one of those alternative songs that deserves to be a hit. If it just deserves more to be a hit than the generic Shut Up and Dance song.
No, man. Not too much on the Shut Up and Dance now, but that's for another day. But no, I mean, honestly, I haven't heard Renegades, but I've seen people post a lot about it in the iTunes and chart threads, and it looks like, it's doing really well. We always see the patterns where the songs do very, very well on their core format, and then the labels will say, all right, let's send it over to pop. So, and it's already, somewhere in the top 30 on iTunes. I see 35. So that's a really good sign, just based on alternative radio. So maybe that'll be a decent hit or a decent crossover hit, at least within the next, couple months, because we all know these alternative hits take a while to cross over to pop radio, especially if the songs are not, if they're very out of the ordinary for pop radio. So if it does become a hit, maybe like sometime in the fall, for like September or so.
That's why they never reach #1, because they always take so long to be supported by pop radio.
Right. Yeah, it's like, yeah, you're right. It's a lot of songs.
Me of Radioactive or Pump It Up Kicks.
Right. I was just going to mention that. Yep.
I hope it can become a big hit like them.
So you know what? I'm gonna say yes. I'm pretty confident about this. It is high on iTunes partially because it's currently featured in a car commercial. But besides that, I think its sales performance is impressive. It has the spin record already on alternatives, still rising there. It's gotten play on HAC. It's doing pretty well there with a bullet of around plus 300. So I think it's going to climb on HAC. I think it should be easy to cross over to pop. There's been plenty of precedent for it. I think it'll stream pretty well. I'm not as confident in the streaming as I am the crossover to pop and the continued good sales, but I think in the end things will line up and it's going to be a top 10 hit. That I can feel that. I think that's going to happen. Okay.
When do you see it happening? I see it, for example, in October.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think definitely at least it would have to be. It's not going to be during summer, so I think it'll be at least October. You know what? I really wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't until November. I really wouldn't. If you look at how long it takes for these songs to build up, songs like Pompeii or Let Her Go, those songs took months between their peaks on alternative radio and then their peaks on pop radio and then their peaks on the Hot 100. So I would probably say, realistically, I'd say if it's going to hit the top 10, which I think it will, that's my prediction, I'll say early to mid-November. That's what I think.
Yep, it sounds about right to me.
Taking off.
Okay, awkward silence finished. The next song, that's also a far out prediction, will go top 10 eventually, is I Don't Like It, I Love It by Flo Rida and Robin Thicke. What do you think about that?
Unfortunately, that's going to be a hit.
You think so?
I don't know. It seems so. It's top 50 already in That's a good sign.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
usually
You're right.
usually it lags.
And radio always supports, well, not always, but it does support Florida.
Yeah, he's radio candy.
Almost as much as Maroon 5, really. Um, and what I have to say about this song, um, it surprised me by doing a lot better worldwide than it has in the U.S. so far. Um, I think it was top 10 in the UK actually. Upon its initial release there. Anyways, it's looking pretty good. Um, I'm not sure if it can go top 10 in the end. So right now, I'm gonna say no. That's just my opinion. It could surprise me. I think that it's selling pretty well. Streaming is definitely the most encouraging part of this. It's in the 30s on Spotify. Streaming usually lags. We saw that with Fight Song. Um, I think that on radio, I don't think it will get too high on pop. To be honest, I think maybe it peaks in the teens there. That I think that Robin Thicke has sort of his lost his credibility among pop radio programmers and the general public. So I'm gonna say it doesn't make it to the top 10 overall on the Hot 100, but certainly not because of weak streaming. I think it'll be a streaming driven hit.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
didn't imagine Robin Thicke to have a hit. I mean, I didn't. Another hit. I mean, I thought his career was over. So it's a very nice surprise.
Right. And speaking of Robin Thicke, he actually has a song called Morning Sun, which is doing well on his home format on Urban Adult AC, which I believe is top 15 on that format. But enough of that.
So is so is Miguel's Adorn. It's top 15.
Yeah, after
Yeah.
what, 3 years? That's wow. It's killing it.
Almost 3 years.
Yeah. But yeah, as far as I don't like it, I love it. I don't think it will be a top 10 hit. I think it would be uh I'm thinking somewhere in the top 20, 15, 20 range. Um because I mean right now because normally Flow Rider his songs normally have more traction than this. Except I mean go down what was it? GDFR actually took a while to build up too. So I guess my argument was
It did.
kind of null and void. But um yeah, I think actually, after he performed it with Rob, after he performed it on the Today Show a couple weeks ago, it actually went up a lot. Actually, on iTunes, I want to say about 30 spots. So, I mean, like you said, the sales are
Yeah.
doing well. We'll just have to see what radio does for it. But I mean, right now it looks like it's doing okay. But top 10, my chances, I say probably 50-50.
All right. So the last song in this little lightning round that we're going to talk about is the current number 13 on Rhythmic Radio. That is "Good Thing" by Sage the Gemini and Nick Jonas, taking a page out of Jealous's book.
Another radio hit for Nick Jonas. It's going to be another hit for him. It seems so, but it's not that big. I mean, maybe lower, maybe lower than it's going to peak lower than Chains. It could be a top 10 hit, but I see it being more like a top 30 hit.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know how to grasp the trajectory of this song because I know it was and it was doing well. I think it debuted on the chart a couple weeks ago and it's currently still rising on the Hot 100. I'm not sure because I think it has like that whole. When I remember when Chains was doing really well on sales and then it just kind of just stalled out and mellowed out was somewhere in the top like 15 range, but. Um, I would say it has maybe like a 40% chance of going top 10. I mean, it's right now I'm not seeing it right at this moment because to me it doesn't have that much traction, but I'm seeing the fact that they haven't promoted the song. So again, you have to consider that piece. It could very well, shoot up in sales after they perform it somewhere. So, and then of course, Sage the Gemini is coming off of a pop hit of GDFR where he was featured,
Yeah.
with Flow Rider. So maybe pop radio is going to use him some more, and that can drive some sales. So, um, top 10, I'll say 40% chance.
All right. Well, I'm I'm a little bit conflicted right now because it's not doing too well in terms of well, actually, you know what? I take that back. It's doing okay for where it is on radio for its iTunes. It's number 90 on iTunes, which isn't great, but it's actually not horrible for where it is without promotion and the radio airplay it has. It is rising on Pop. It's got 11.5 million there in terms of audience. Um, and it's got, let's see, it's got 14 million on Rhythmic, so 25 million overall. So it's got only a little bit of radio airplay. It is doing a lot better on Rhythmic than it is on Pop right now,
Right.
which actually, I think that's yeah, it is surprising because it's a pop song in my opinion. It's the instrumental follows the lead of Style and Jealous, going back to Love Me Harder and Do What You Want and that trend. Um, but yeah, so it's doing better on Rhythmic than on Pop, which if it can eventually catch on Pop, that's a good sign. Right now, I'm gonna have to say it has around maybe let's see, of reaching the top 10 at at this moment I'd say around 30%. But then, if it can enter like the top 40 on iTunes within the next like 2 months or so, then I would bump those chances up to maybe a 50-50. Because if it can sell well, it's going to have the airplay, and if you're pretty strong in those two components, um, maybe it'll have weak streaming, but maybe that won't block it from hitting the top 10. So I don't know, 30% right now, 50-50 if it can get to the top 40 pretty soon. That's what I think.
Agreed.
Also, we have to consider this type of song, like Do What You Want, Style, Jealous, don't sell that well as we expect. They're more airplay driving hits than sales. So Nick Jonas is pop candy. He just had two big pop radio hits. It's going to be supported by radio. It's going to do very well on airplay. I think so. But it just lacks on sales. I just see this song selling on sales and streaming not doing that well.
All right, so that concludes our lightning round.
You know what? We should talk about another song. I mean, I just was thinking about it. I don't know if you agree.
What song would that be?
Classic Man.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's gaining on every component. I think so. And it's just like Fantasy 2.0 is the main key. So I think we should talk about it because it seems like a very strong contender for top
10. It will forever be known, regardless of whether it hits the top 10, as the song that Iggy Azalea gets royalties from when it plays on radio. So that's a good accomplishment for Jidenna. Yeah, I have to agree that it's looking strong at the moment. It is getting pop airplay. It's very high on Rhythmic. It's number 3 there, but it does appear to have peaked on that format, so that could pose a problem if it wants to have a high peak on overall AI. But it is getting pop play. It's rising pretty comfortably on pop. On iTunes, it is, let's see, where is it now? It's at 58. That's the remix featuring Kendrick Lamar.
But I think there are there are like 3 versions.
Yeah. So probably it's top 50 combined. And then it made an appearance in the top 50 of Spotify recently. So you know what? It's far in the future. It's farther in the future, I think, than maybe even some of the other songs we talked about, like Renegades. But it could happen. I'll give it maybe, if I was to say right now, I'll give it a 40% chance as long as it keeps gaining on every metric, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think this will be a hit. I mean, it's already a top 30 hit, as you all pointed out, on the Hot 100. And he just needs to maybe get out and promote it more. I know he performed at the BET Awards about a month ago, and I think that's what gave it the initial huge exposure for this song. So I think if he is to do another promo spot, it could go even further. But I don't think it'll hit top 10. I think it'll be one of those urban hits that always get stuck within the 11 to 20 region. And we've been following the charts for a while, and it's been so many like urban rhythmic hits that always get packed in the 11 to 20 range. So I think it may fall in there. But we'll just have to see what happens. I mean, but it is all growing. It's still growing in sales, streams, and airplay. So the chances, I would say, like 30 to 40%.
And speaking of urban slash rhythmic hits that peaked in the 11 to 20 range, how about "Bitch Better Have My Money"? How about that?
Wow, a big hit, Rihanna. It has big. It has big. I mean, let's be honest. It's with the premiere of the controversial video. It helped a lot, some because it beat the previous peak. I think it just has big. I mean, it's just doing amazing on streaming. It's putting a lot of big numbers there, but it's not doing quite well in sales. It's those types of urban hits that just don't sell that well as streaming numbers or airplay numbers. It's going to be at number 15 as it did.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much the peak for the song. But it's just interesting how a lot of people try to say, oh, it flopped, it underperformed, blah blah blah. But when you put things into perspective, it was a legitimate hit. Like it went number one on urban radio, and I believe it went top 10 on rhythmic radio, which I mean,
7.
yeah, which is really good. And then I think this song just crossed somewhere over 700,000 downloads within the U.S. And with that in the streams, it's definitely eligible for platinum certification. So, I mean, was it a smash hit? No. Was it a flop? No, not at all. And she performed it once at the iHeart Music Awards, which also helped, I think, take it back up in sales because it was, it helped. But the era or whatever you want to call this buzz era for Rihanna, it's just been all over the place for her. So this song, yeah, pray for Ari. I mean, this song probably could have had more of a chart life or more life within the song, but we don't know what Rihanna's doing. So for this song to actually do what it did, like peak at number 15, and so a lot of songs, and also a lot of urban hits within the past few months, to me, that's impressive.
All right, yeah. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is alternative pop crossover hits, and we already touched on Renegades. I think that's got a great chance. But are there any other alternative hits that you can see crossing over to pop and becoming overall bona fide hits?
I haven't seen any of them. I mean, besides Renegades, I just don't see them. I don't know. I'm not paying that attention for alternative format, but I don't know. I don't know what do you say, you Aaron?
Honestly, I mean, I really haven't been following the alternative hits lately. Like, honestly, I try to follow them when I see a lot of people talking about them. Then I'll check the songs out and listen and follow the charts. But, yeah, I don't know. There's nothing bubbling under my radar at the moment. But I mean, if you want to, I don't know if this one counts. Uma Thurman, I don't think that originally started at pop. I think that actually started at alternative rock radio, and it's now crossing over to, to pop radio.
I'm gonna have to. Well, it had a very low peak in alternative. It peaked outside of the top 40.
Wow.
Yeah, that's rough.
Interesting. Well, it's doing better on pop radio.
It is, and it's literally like the same thing as Centuries, except maybe a little bit smaller. It's the same thing, under the radar sales hits that kind of like just don't get that mainstream recognition for them.
Yeah, and with Fall Out Boy, they're like, I would consider what hard rock, or like that very very like in your face like like rock. And for in this time, I don't think the GP is here for that sound. But as I talked to you, Alex, in the iTunes thread, it's like they have very very great longevity with their sales. Like, for example, my songs My songs Know What You Did in the
Know
Dark.
what you did in the dark.
Yeah,
That song is still selling. I think it's like close to 4 million downloads
that's
without even like hitting the top 10 on the Hot 100. And then Centuries has a lot of longevity as well. So this could be, I mean, another longevity hit for them as well.
Yeah.
They're very underrated, honestly, because their longevity on sales is very impressive.
I would agree. I think it's really, I didn't see it coming with this era. I thought, I honestly did not think Centuries or Uma Thurman would be as big as they are on sales. I had no idea. I didn't know what to expect from them coming back. So I guess, yeah, good for them. Have some bona fide sales hits.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think about Uma Thurman?
I can't see it going to the top 10. But I think that, it's going to continue to rise on pop radio. It'll make the top 15 there, I think, because Elastic Heart will probably fall below it. Talking Bio will probably fall below it.
Oh man,
and that would get it to 16. I think that, let's see, how's it doing on HAC? It's doing pretty well. It's at 14. Yeah, 14. So I think it'll probably continue to rise, at least for the time being, slightly. And then, let's see, if I was to go for a peak, I would say it probably peaks in the mid to upper 20s, I think. Maybe 27.
Definitely agree.
Yeah.
So, and then actually in terms of alternative pop crossover hits, there's two candidates that I'd like to mention. First one would be X's and O's by Al King, which is 5 on alternative. And it's got an HAC play. I think it's published in the 30s and with recurrence 72. And let's see, 53 on iTunes. So that's not looking too bad. Streaming will lag as it does with most alternative hits, but you know what? In the end, I see a possible overall top 20 hit with that song.
Cool. Yeah, that's another song that I've been seeing a lot of people talk about, X's and O's. So maybe that's another hit that could come along and surprise us all maybe later this year. I know Walk the Moon, they have another single going at alternative radio. I'm not sure if that's going to cross over. Like, honestly, I think they got very, very lucky with Shut Up and Dance because it's very, very, very poppy. It's more pop than rock to me, honestly.
I mean, you know who else released? Who else released a second single and sent it to HAC? American Authors did. Bastille did. They believe in Of the Night, respectively. Foster the People did. And none of them obviously became hits. I think that it's really hard in this day and age for an alternative act to score 2 overall big hit singles in a row. I think that's hard. I think Imagine Dragons, that was really impressive.
Yeah, and
I wasn't expecting
right. And the thing with Imagine Dragons is when you compare them to like acts such as Bastille, Walk the Moon, with Imagine Dragons, they did a lot of promotion for their last era. I think it was
absolutely.
They did a lot of promotion, so they got a lot of exposure through through television, through radio, and all of that. So I think if for example, Bastille would have maybe took the route of going more and trying to promote in the U.S., maybe they would have had like a smaller run that of Imagine Dragons. Who knows? But I think once they get that one hit that crosses over from alternative to pop, they don't try anymore. They just kind of, I guess, fade to the background. Which, I mean, if that's what they want, that's fine. But yeah, it's hard. You're right. It is very hard.
So, the next thing that we're going to talk about is a big issue. It's been talked about in numerous threads on ATRL for a long time, for several years.
Single thread.
Yeah.
I know.
And we're going to talk about long-running number ones and does the Hot 100 formula need to change? And I'll let you guys talk first, and then I'll chime in with my own stuff.
Okay.
People need to change. I mean, people need to agree that streaming is the future. Like, it's a fact. Oh.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the thing with the thing I'm seeing a lot of people gripe about is, oh my God, we have so many long running number ones. It gets boring. Blah blah blah. I mean, to an extent, yeah. If that's a song that you don't like, you'll probably find it boring. If it's a song that you do like, you're gonna like it. So it's kind of a double standard. But let's take Uptown Funk for example. That song led all three components: radio, sales, and streaming simultaneously for many weeks. I don't know how many weeks it was, but it was at least 6 weeks because it kept breaking that record. I kept seeing it in that article. So basically, what they're saying is that song was outright the most popular song of the week. It was heard the most times on radio, it was bought the most times through digital retailers, and it was streamed the most times through YouTube, Spotify, or whatever. And that song was a legitimate multi-week number one. It's not like it was something where it was driven by airplay or driven by streams or driven by sales. With "See You Again," that was also a legitimate hit in all three components. I mean, for what it was a huge seller at the time. But yeah, the sales did slide a bit, but it led again simultaneously some components like radio, sales, and streaming. But to answer the question, Billboard is never going to get a precise accuracy of popularity. Like, things are changing. Yes, streaming is huge, but you also have to take into account that people do listen to the radio. Radio is something that drives sales. It's something that drives streaming. So you can't just say, oh, let's just take radio out the equation completely, because then you're going to have something like the UK chart where you'll have a number one for a week, another number one the next week. Now that's something I don't agree with.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that.
Yeah. So here's my take on it. Streaming, like it or not, is the main reason that we have these long-running number ones and a lot of longevity in the top 10. Uptown Funk is primarily a streaming hit right now. See You Again, primarily a streaming hit right now. Thinking Out Loud and Sugar, when they were falling, they were streaming hits. So streaming is what's keeping these songs around for so long, whether it's at number one or whether it's in the top 10. But you can't decrease the influence of streaming because it's becoming more and more relevant. If you look at the Spotify numbers from like 2 years ago, they're mind-blowing, because like not a single song gets over like 400,000, 300,000 daily, and now we're having songs do 1 million. So you can't decrease the influence of streaming. If anything, you're going to increase it as it becomes more relevant. So you're going to have more long-running number ones, and you can't increase sales influence when less and less people are buying music, because then your formula is not as representative of the public as it should be. And then decreasing airplay would by default, like, if you're going to decrease airplay though, that's not going to help with your long-running number ones, because if you decrease airplay, you're probably going to increase streaming. You're not going to increase sales, because that doesn't make any sense. So if you decrease airplay, you're probably going to increase streaming, and then you're going to have long-running number ones be even more likely. So I don't think that there's something that you can do to the formula that makes sense and that causes less long-running number ones. It's just not possible.
Yeah, but you decreasing airplay, I think the influence is just way too much. I mean, you like this way too long number ones or whatever. You are looking for listing the most popular song in an accurate way, and I think airplay is not showing that. It's not like consumer driving, you know. It is. I feel it's a very important component, but not as being superior than sales like it is right now.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think with airplay is always going to be a weird issue, because there's people who say that it's driven by the industry, so you pay for play, which is not an accurate reflection of popularity, and we won't get into the whole payola discussion. I guess that's for another podcast. But I personally believe that Billboard is kind of doing a good job with trying to lessen the strength of airplay, because if we think back to, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, or maybe 4 years ago, we knew airplay was a huge component. It was sales, airplay. We knew airplay was huge in their formula, and then they they took it back a little bit when they added on demand streams because they figured, oh wait, people are streaming songs, so let's go ahead and influence our Hot 100 with the streams. But again, there's never gonna they can't just really take out a huge chunk of airplay's influence because honestly, millions of people do listen to the radio. Like, when you're in the salon, when you're in the mall, like people do hear songs and that drives them to buy records, albums, singles or whatever. So my personal take on it is, yes, I think we do need to, reduce the influence of airplay a bit, but as drastic as many people are making it out to be, like to reduce it like completely, I don't think so.
Yeah. Okay. So here's what I'm going to say about airplay. I mean, maybe I'm biased as someone who listens to the radio every day. But so I do. I listen to the radio every day. And I've discovered a lot of new music. Through the radio. I discovered a lot of my favorite songs that way. Royals, that was a radio discovery for me. So I have a connection to radio, and I like it. But here's the thing: I'm okay with decreasing the influence, but I don't see how airplay is not a factor in terms of contributing to the overall popularity. As Umich pointed out, it leads to streaming directly, and it leads to sales directly. And regardless of whether or not consumers are actually in control of what's going on the radio, it influences what they're doing. So I think it definitely has to remain a component. But here's how it relates to long-running number ones. All of the songs that have been long-running number ones have had crazy longevity on overall radio. If you look at the overall audience right now, the chart today, Uptown Funk has just dropped out of the top 10. It's at number 11. Sugar is 13, right? Like songs like that have such longevity on the Hot 100. It's not just because of streaming. You have these long runs on radio too. Songs that get dropped fast by radio tend not to have that longevity. I mean, like even Earned It, where streaming was like the only thing keeping it afloat, is still 17 on overall radio. So it actually, a lot of this doesn't have to just do with streaming, but it has to do with long runs on radio as well. I think if you decrease the influence of radio, I don't think it's going to prevent long-running number ones. I think long-running number ones are going to stay. I think we might see around 10 number ones a year for next year. That's I can't see a reason why we won't.
I think we need to accept that people is just listening the same song over and over again. I mean, it's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that just comes along with how much a person likes a song or how much they want to hear it. And yeah, if they like it, they're gonna want to listen to it. So, but yeah.
I mean the general public just absolutely loved Uptown Funk. It was everywhere. And See You Again. It was everywhere. Everybody knew it. At least that from what I've seen. Everybody knew it. Everybody was playing it. I think a good barometer of what if the song is really, really into the public sphere is if you could go and just knock on the doors of your neighbors and ask them if they knew the song and they'd say yes. I think with Uptown Funk they would say yes. I think that's a good barometer for that. All of my teachers knew the song, all my friends knew the song, my parents knew the song, everybody knew it. So I think that songs that are really well known like that are going to just naturally die down a lot slower because the public has been into them. I think with a song that's radio fueled and that doesn't respond with sales and streaming gains, that shows you that the public might not be into it as much as a song like Uptown Funk. So a song like, well, I'm not sure how the reception is going to be to me using this as an example, but Style. In terms of it went number one on pop, did really well there. But I don't think it ever reached the top 5 on iTunes. I don't think it ever reached.
The album for this week did too.
Yeah, and the streaming didn't do very. The video, in terms of helping the streaming, didn't help a huge amount either. Right, so it wasn't bad. It didn't do badly. It was a big hit. Peaked at I think 6 in the Hot 100, but it just didn't have it. didn't capture the public the way that Uptown Funk did. So that's what separates the long-running number ones from the radio-driven hits. And I think if you decrease the influence of airplay, you're going to have more of those long-running number ones and less of those radio-driven hits.
I'm just happy that no one's coming for Mariah's record, so I'm
Yeah, I mean, we were very, very close with Uptown Funk, and then Uptown Funk would have done it because if See You Again would not have come along, Uptown Funk would have broken the record at what was 17 weeks. So I guess Mariah has to thank Wiz Khalifa some kind of way. I don't know, but yeah.
God bless you, Wiz Khalifa. God bless you.
I mean, he's deserved it. Honestly, I think he's deserved mainstream success for a while. He's had a bunch of great songs, like Young, Wild, and Free, that have like not gotten to the mainstream. So you know what? I'm happy for him, even if it's not my favorite song.
He's the king of rap, so.
I mean, I think Drake would have a word there, but
Or Fetty Wap.
Yeah, Fetty Wap. Yeah, he's gonna have a word. He's gonna have a word with you too. I mean, he's the only guy with 3 songs in the iTunes Top 40 right now, so that's kind of an accomplishment.
He's more successful than our pop girls right now. Let's be honest.
And it's true. I mean, besides, we have Taylor, who's obviously slaying everything in sight, but then besides that, we have Megan on a smaller scale. But yeah,
Yeah, but like a lot of people like hate Megan.
Nah.
I don't know why, because she's so lovely. Oh.
I don't know what's the hate about her. I mean, she's inoffensive. I mean, people got upset with all about that bass, which, you know, that's just crazy. It's a song. Like I've heard worse songs.
The deal over that was way too big. And then like people tried to find like discrepancies in the lyrics of Dear Future Husband too. You know, it's kind of tired. I mean, it's just supposed to be a fun song. Like, please.
Don't take it too serious. I mean, people are so sensitive sometimes.
Exactly. It's too much. They're doing the most.
But then back to your thing about pop.
Oh my God, the police is coming.
Yes.
Yeah, they're coming. It's actually Drake in a private limo with a siren that's coming for you for saying that he's not the king of rap. So. Anyways, I think that what you're talking about, the pop girls, totally. Urban is making a comeback, and Urban doesn't involve pop girls except for, Bitch Better Have My Money. And I think that you might see some urban-oriented pop songs. I wouldn't be surprised from the pop girls, in the coming months and several years. I think Beyonce did it well with Drunk in Love. Rihanna did it well with Bitch Better Have My Money. So you just have to wonder, well, who's next?
Well,
Rihanna did amazing, considering she's a bad bitch that she doesn't care of her music anymore. So she did amazing with Bitch Better Have My Money. I want to add that.
Yeah, that was a great chart hit for her. I agree.
And I think Urban coming back has a few consequences for the overall charts.
ATRL, no, for
and for ATRL, yes, and for ATRL. I think that it's going to be more of a rarity to see these kind of HAC style hits like Fight Song and Honey I'm Good. I mean, those will still happen, and because they're happening right now. But I think it'll be harder because pop is going to lean a little bit urban. I think just looking at the pop radio chart right now, you have several urban influence songs charting, not necessarily doing amazing, but charting. Post to be at 27, Earned It at 33, which was peaked at number 1. It was a number 1 there.
Right.
I need pop radio to drop that shit right now. I'm tired.
But yes, there is some.
Is it enough with Can't Feel My Face? Oh my God, drop that Ernest shit.
Drag 'em.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of The Weeknd, do you think that the Hills will get a lot of pop support or no?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it depends. It's like one of those things where it's going to be a huge pop hit, or it's going to be just something where it fizzles out in the top 20 on pop radio, like with like Drunken Love or Trap Queen. I don't know, because those types of songs really don't really become strong pop hits because they're too urban influence. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, for example, like Somebody. I mean, yes, it was urban influence, but it had a hook and a melody that was very, very, very catchy. So that's why I think that one did
Yeah.
really, really well on pop radio. But with the Hills, I don't know. I mean, people seem to like his voice. I mean, Earned It was a huge hit. Can't Feel My Face obviously is a huge hit right now. So maybe he can ride off that success and get another strong pop hit. But I think it'll at least go top 20 if they send it there. But as far as more,
Mm.
I don't think it may do more than that.
Yeah, they're sending it to Rhythmic on July 28th. That is 9 days from now. So it'll go to Rhythmic. I think the reason they're sending it to Rhythmic first is just kind of test it out, test the waters, see how it does there. If it does really well there, I think it will. Then maybe they'll try pop. But I wouldn't be surprised if it actually stops. Around 15-20.
Doesn't have to worry for airplay because I mean he's fine. He's going he's going to have another top 10 hits
Oh yeah.
with the
Oh yeah.
Hills
Oh yeah.
with no airplay support actually, and I don't know. He's just fine. I mean, I think he maybe doesn't care that much.
Right.
Um. So yeah, I think that he's gonna have massive streaming all the way through with every song. From obviously Earned It massive on streaming. Can't Feel My Face. Already doing amazing. Number 1 on Spotify, 2.5 weeks, not even a video. Hills, number 3, was number 2 on Spotify, also without a video. So I think that he's gonna have no issues with streaming. He's definitely, I think, the breakout act of 2015. That's been established, but just wanted to get that in there. He definitely is. Sorry, Fetty. Fetty has to sit back and watch The Weeknd do his thing because The Weeknd is simply bigger.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. And I think there was a poll earlier.
Biggest act of this year.
Yeah, I think there was a poll earlier on ATRL where it was like Fetty Wap versus The Weeknd, who's the bigger breakout act. And I think The Weeknd won that poll by flying colors. I mean, if you look at the songs that he's had this year, I mean, he had Love Me Harder, Earned It, Can't Feel My Face, The Hills, and then his album went number 1 on iTunes just based on pre-orders. I mean, it definitely has the upper hand on Fetty Wap right now. Now, I mean, if Fetty Wap comes out later this year with another album and does similar to The Weeknd, I mean, then it'll be, kind of equal and debatable. But right now, it's definitely The Weeknd who's breaking out more than Fetty Wap.
The Weeknd will easily kill Fetty Wap album sales. So yeah, I think he's just the breakout artist. I'm agree. It's a breakout.
Yeah.
So, do we have any kind of miscellaneous thoughts about anything, really? Oh, yes. Actually, we have to talk about Lucia Cole. That's something that we have to talk about.
I won. I just don't read that much about that. Sorry so much, guys.
What? Okay. So apparently, her album was taken. Her quote unquote album was removed from iTunes, according to an ATRLer. So I guess that's her rent money for the month or whatever she was getting from those albums. But yeah, I think that overall that situation was just like wow, because no one knew who she was, and then all of a sudden this thread just became super popular with over 130,000 views within a week. But I think the whole situation was just very childish. She issued an apology statement, and then she said that she was going to end her life, and then she deletes her Twitter. It's like, okay, what are you doing?
Could be a man.
I don't know. It's crazy. Maybe.
But still, I love how it was blamed on Trey Songz not having sex. Like, that is hilarious. It's just the most random thing to blame her, like, the actions that were part of that catfishing scheme on. That I just found.
Yeah, it's not that serious.
Hilarious.
It's like that's one of those things where you've taken things too far, and I think it may be time for you to just chill out for a bit. Go take a nap or something.
Yeah, just close the computer, shut off the smartphone, just whoever did this has some problems, and sending my condolences to them, because that's hard to deal with. But you know what? It's the thing that I think a lot of members found funny was the fact that poor Jessica Simpson, nobody recognized her music at all. Nobody seemed to care. She didn't seem to care, and she got blatantly ripped off very easily, which I think a lot of people found funny.
Yeah, kind of sad.
It is kind of sad. But we like sad stories, don't we?
Well, the ATRL lives for sad stories, so I guess so.
I mean, ATRL loves drama, and that story was
funny. Oh yeah, all over it. It's like I said, it's the number one thread of the week.
Somebody needs to call up Shaq, whether it's on the set of NBA TV. Somebody needs to give him a talking to, because I don't know how he even heard of Lucy Cole and tweeted about her. That is crazy. I mean, Shaq has no business in pop music, and he's got no connections, and yet here he is just randomly tweeting about this person who hasn't sold more than 5 copies of any song. That's crazy.
That is very crazy. It's a mystery.
Oh man! All right, so I think that wraps it up for today. If you have any chart questions that you'd like us to answer in the next podcast, post them in the thread or actually tweet us. We have a Twitter account at Charts Podcast. I was surprised that wasn't taken, but it wasn't. So you can tweet us there if you have any questions. And see you next episode.
All right, thanks again for hosting.
Jason is coming next episode.
Yeah, James is coming. Lego Fan Yoda. He'll be here next episode. He'll be here for the recording. Couldn't be here right now, but he'll make it for the next episode, so don't worry about him. Yeah.
All right.
So
that's epic. That's it.
Yeah. All right. So until the next episode then.